And yes, as you see, when we are joined by an All-American Ohio State legend, yeah, you know the Buckeyes got a big game coming up this weekend. So, Beanie, I appreciate you joining us. Our colleague here at CBS Sports Network, you can see him all over the place, including that excellent, soon-to-be award-winning pregame show from 9 to noon, college football pregame. So, Beanie, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. But I would say, can we just start jumping in? Give me your temperature of the Buckeyes right now, because we've had some performances that have kind of been all over the map, sometimes within the same game. When you look at Ohio State, what do you think are the strengths and weaknesses for this team as they prepare for the home stretch?
You know, that's a very good question. You know, when you look at Ohio State, they've been all over the place, as you just mentioned. So it's kind of hard to dial in on, one specific area that's been, a staple point for this football team. I certainly think you can go to the secondary. You can look at those guys and the way that they've played. And Denzel Burke, obviously inconsistent in the game versus Oregon, but overall, I think he's been very good. Lathan Ransom, I think he's been phenomenal. That secondary and that linebacking core, I think, is the staple point for this football team. I know in years past, you would always look on the offensive end, but right now, especially with the injuries up front, I just don't know that it's it.
From what you've seen so far this season, Beanie, from the Buckeyes, there was the loss earlier this year on the road to Oregon, a very close game, a game that, they had a chance to win at the end. What's the one area of the football team that you've been most impressed by so far in 2024?
I think outside of last week, I would say the running game. Obviously, the running back duo that we have in Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, those guys have been phenomenal. They've been creating the big plays. But now when you have these offensive line issues, I think that, is a little bit different now, because what we saw last week wasn't what we've seen in prior weeks. Ohio State's been able to dominate running the football, and last week they were stifled. And I think that was a lot attributed to the offensive line issues.
Beanie, keeping in mind that both offensive tackles now are out for Ohio State, which is unfortunate because I feel like no team out there has good depth. What's some stuff that maybe you haven't seen them run, or maybe you haven't seen them run very much of, that you'd like to see them break out for this Penn State game?
Pushing the ball downfield. I think that's been a major issue. I don't think we did enough of it versus Oregon. And last week, particularly, we maybe had one play where we pushed it downfield, but that all comes due in part to being able to protect the quarterback, giving him time. That's something I do believe that we're going to have to do consistently if we're going to have an opportunity to not only beat Penn State, but make a run to a Big Ten conference championship, is push the ball downfield consistently and not just picking and choosing when you do it. I think Ryan Day mentioned in his presser today and last week, that's something that's going to be of emphasis for this offense.
One of those pieces to push the ball downfield, too, has been Jeremiah Smith, the superstar freshman. You are used to being a Buckeye, either playing with guys who were superstar freshmen. You probably were a superstar freshman. They're all over the place, but this one feels different. How would you stack up Jeremiah Smith just in the historical, context of the players that have gone through Columbus and potentially even all of college football?
You know what, man? When you look at him, he's just different. Just his body control, just the veteran moves that he has running routes. His awareness is, incredible. I stack him up. He's probably like Julio Jones in terms of being that big, that physical, that can run and catch everything around him. But when you talk about Buckeye receivers and the Buckeye greats, you certainly have to go back to Ted Ginn Jr. and his impact that he had his freshman year. Obviously, I think Jeremiah Smith is certainly going to be more because he's on the field a lot more as the unquestioned starter and unquestioned number one receiver. But it's nothing short of amazing watching this guy. And I can't believe that he was in high school last year. I think when you watch this guy play, he speaks and he plays like he's a 3 or 4 year guy out there starting.
Beanie, I have not, that I can recall, seen a disconnect between the cold record, the way the numbers look on the paper, and the way that some of the conversations are around a head coach, like with Ryan Day. And I just, you're right there. You're with Ohio State fans. And I mean, Is it fair? Like, I can't believe this guy is 62-9. He is 41-4 in Big Ten play. It is bananas. And yet you continually hear some of the frustration. And I know Ohio State's a huge fan base, and you're always going to have the crazy voices be amplified more. But how do you describe that disconnect between the actual on-field results and the way that some Ohio State fans feel and the pressure that is sort of put upon Ryan Day?
You know, look, I mean, at Ohio State, everybody wants perfection. You want to be in the big game every single year, and you want to go out and dominate Michigan, and more importantly, and that's something that he hasn't been able to do the last couple of years. So I think to a degree, it's warranted, especially when you don't beat Michigan on a consistent basis. But when you look at his overall record, the guy's getting you in big games. He's not going out and just being dominated in the games that he does lose on a big stage, outside of obviously the one versus Michigan. When you look at his record, 62-9, that's phenomenal. Any other team in college history would love that. But Ohio State fans are spoiled. You know, they're used to being top tier in that upper echelon. And, it's hard for them to come down off that high horse at times.
It's funny we mentioned Ryan Day's record overall and in these games against top 5 teams. It's like, I always feel like it's important to mention that in these games against top 5 teams, Ohio State's always ranked in the top 5 alongside the team that they're playing, which is something I feel like Ohio State fans tend to overlook a bit. But regardless of the Ryan Day situation and everything surrounding the narrative about the big games, with Ohio State having lost earlier this season on the road to Oregon and now facing another top 5 team in Penn State with a loss on the record already in 3rd place in the Big Ten, is this a must-win for the Buckeyes on Saturday? Like, what happens if they lose this game?
No, I think absolutely it's a must-win. When you understand the matchup versus Penn State and where you already sit in the Big Ten standings, and then knowing how you lost versus Oregon and knowing the ultimate goal is to win a Big Ten championship, get in the college football playoff, you absolutely have to go out and win this game. If you don't win it, I think most certainly you're just hoping and praying for things to fall your way and for you to get an opportunity to get into the college football playoff, sitting on the outside looking in. But I know Ohio State's a team and Ryan Day is a coach that loves to be in control of their own destiny. They don't want to leave it to anybody else for them to get in and to achieve their ultimate goal. And that's, winning a Big Ten championship and being in that college football playoff, that big dance that we all believe. So most certainly it is going to be a tough matchup on the road in a tough environment, but it is indeed a must win. And I think they have to have that mentality going into this game.
Beanie, who's the guy for Penn State that, given your knowledge of this Ohio State roster, that keeps you up at night? Like, man, this is going to be tough.
Abdul Carter. 100%. That guy off the edge will be a freaking nightmare, especially not having a starter, unquestioned starter there at the left tackle spot. That's an individual that can impact the game drastically. He can pin his ears back and just come after the quarterback. And if I'm Ohio State, I'm certainly doing max protection, bringing in the back and chipping, bringing in the tight end and chipping wherever he's going to be on that football field, because you can't afford to let him beat you. And we saw last week versus Nebraska, Ohio State have some trouble there in the trenches protecting versus edge rushers, and when they didn't see one, that's the capability of Abdul Carter.
Beanie, you played in some iconic stadiums. You played in some massive games. Where does Beaver Stadium rank as far as hostile environments, loud, crazy atmospheres? How does it stack up against the very best?
Oh, man, it's up there. It's crazy. From the moment you get off the bus, you're walking through their fans to get to your locker room. So they're there yelling at you, and then they're on top of you. And then let's not forget about the fact that it'll be a whiteout, I'm sure. So that is so loud. You can barely hear. You hear the cat roaring left and right in that stadium. It's a tough place to play. I've played in some tough stadiums. I would say Washington is very tough. Wisconsin is very tough, but Penn State probably is the number 1 place, especially when they have a very good football team.
All right, Beanie. Totally unbiased, I'm sure. You are a professional. What game prediction? What do we think happens?
I think Ohio State shores up some issues that they had on the offensive line. I think Ohio State wins this game, and it's going to be because of the defense and how they step up and get pressure on whether it's Drew Aller or their backup quarterback. When you look at Drew Aller, he's been great all year, but mainly going to Tyler Warren. He hasn't been really good going to the other wide receiver. So I think they isolate Tyler Warren and put an extra guy on him and try to make Drew Aller beat him with his arm to other targets. So I think the Buckeyes win this game because of their defense.
He is Beanie Wells, Ohio State legend, our friend, and a CBS Sports Network, CBS Sports and CBS Sports HQ star. Beanie, thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys for having me.